Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Spank Dog, aka Puffinstein, at YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You already know. Let's get right into it. All right, people. So this is gonna be the LeBron versus Jordan, who is better debate. All right, the debate nobody wants to have. All right, now few things y'all need to know. First off, I'm gonna give it a little bit of time. Just a few seconds. I'm gonna talk a little nonsense just to see if we could get people in here, because whether people show up or whether people don't, I'm gonna do what I do. So just looking to see something real quick. Okay, this is it right here. Okay, I'm gonna be sharing this. What's up? What's up, Bubbles? I see you right there. Let me share this to Facebook real quick. All right, people, it's on and cracking. We're live. What's up, Bubbles? Thanks for the rolling up. All right. We're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about if LeBron really has a case to claim that he is as good or better than Michael Jordan, you know. So, like I said before, first of all, thank you for rolling up. You know what I'm saying? Much love to you, Bubbles. Thank you for showing up. You know. you know, it's I'm grateful. I'm grateful for anybody who rolls up. But I would like some LeBron haters to roll up. That would be really awesome. You know what I'm saying? If we could get some LeBron haters up in here. But we're gonna start in a few regardless. How's your family, Bubbles? I hope everybody's doing well with you and yours. I seen your comment right there. Hope your family's doing well too. So, but Bubbles, do you have a favorite? Do you like Michael Jordan or do you like LeBron James? Good to know that you're all good. I don't know if you watch sports like that. I'm wondering if you are more of a fan of LeBron or more of a fan of Mike, or do you care at all? Michael Jordan, there we go. We got the first Michael Jordan fan in the room. And like I said, it's not that I'm not a fan of Michael Jordan. You know, I watched Mike coming up. You can't be my age and not have watched Mike. You get what I'm saying? But the thing is that since I was young, when I was 8 years old, Mike had just entered the league. So I would watch him at first, but I would always root for the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? But I used to watch Mike and I used to be like, man, this is crazy. I've watched all the documentaries, Come Fly With Me, Air Up There. There was, and literally I know the count because before, DVDs started coming out and all the digital media, Mike, if I have it correct, it was 7 documentaries. It was Air Up There, Come Fly With Me, and then there was like 5 others. I'm not gonna rack my brain trying to remember every single one. But drop a comment too. Tell us, let's hear why Mike is so much better than LeBron. Because my thing is that there was a time where I used to say to people, even though LeBron is one of my favorite players, when I say one of my favorite players, I've told people the list before. It started with Patrick Ewing. That was my favorite player. But this is an 8-year old first starting to watch basketball. Not that there's anything wrong with being a fan of Patrick Ewing either. He's a Hall of Famer. You don't make it into the Hall of Fame for nothing, But since I was from NYC, Patrick Ewing was everything. You know what I'm saying? That was the Knicks' main man. Let me see. She said that's my era though. I didn't say better. But after Patrick Ewing, I started by that time when Patrick Ewing was getting older and Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell and Marcus Camby, took us to the championships the time after we lost to the Rockets. you know um I had started to get into basketball to the point where I knew the whole league. I had started collecting cards also. I was collecting NBA collectibles. So it got to the point where I fell in love with the whole basketball thing, the whole NBA. And that's when I started making deciding somebody was going to be my favorite player that wasn't a Knick. It was going to be about how amazing they were. And my second favorite player was Allen Iverson. Now, the thing with that was, right, if you picked Allen Iverson to be your favorite player, most likely you weren't into Kobe Bryant. May he rest in peace. And that's that's what it was. I was so enamored by Allen Iverson. First of all, back then, big guys like Victor Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic, they didn't dribble the ball. So if you wanted to see some jazzy around the back spin move, inside change, crossover, you would have had to watch the point guard. And there's a chance a small forward, a shooting guard would bust out a crazy move. But for the most part, they didn't want the bigger guys handling the ball. I didn't like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but Allen Iverson came through with that street ball style high crossover. There's a lot of names for the crossover Allen Iverson had. It was the stutter step crossover, the high crossover, um, you know, and there's more names for it. But Allen Iverson was my second favorite player after Patrick Ewing. So I liked Kobe. I knew he was good. He started winning championships with Shaq. There was no denying how good Kobe was, but he wasn't flashy enough for my taste. I liked the guys that had the dribble that was insane, and I liked guys who shot jump shots. I wasn't big on, but Kobe was a shooter, but like Shaq, I wasn't into the whole back pound the guy down, back him down with the dribble, and then turn and you're 1 inch away from the rim and put the ball in the hoop. To me, the 3-point era and the dribbling era is way more exciting than the big man era of, backing them down, and that was boring to me. As much as I still love basketball, it's a system. Everybody got to do their thing. So even when there's superstars involved, they still need other people to do other things. That's why you have role players. So Iverson was just special. You got to remember, this is the crazy thing with Allen Iverson. When I say empty team, that's not disrespect to people who were on the team at the time. But the crazy thing about Allen Iverson was he's 6'1", and he took a team to the finals, and he didn't have another all-star on his team. And he's 6'1". So, but the crazy thing also with Allen Iverson is he won 4 scoring titles. on efficient shooting too at that. How do you and he led his team to like an 11-1 record 1 year, or something like an amazing record, something like, whatever, 13-1, 16-2, whatever. He came out the gate unstoppable. The only one of the few guys that I see like that right now is Tyrese Maxey. There's other guys, but the one that stands out to me that's not tall and is destroying it is Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yo, the jump shot, man, the 3-point error was a good thing. I'm gonna tell you something. What I think they're gonna end up doing, I think they're gonna end up pushing back the 3-point line a little bit. They might have to. It depends on how it gets. But if it gets to the point where it's like they ain't doing anything else but shooting 3-pointers, which that's not gonna happen. There's too much science behind basketball for them to just start shooting 3-pointers every single play. But worst case scenario, move it back a half a foot, 2 feet, whatever is appropriate to make it where it's a little tougher again. I was just waiting to, yeah, there's people in here, man. Yo, anybody that is a Jordan fan, drop a comment. Anybody that's really high on LeBron, drop a comment. And the crazy thing is I always hear Jordan, but when you look at the hashtags, there's like 4 million LeBron James hashtags, and there's only like 1 million Michael Jordan hashtags. So I know there's LeBron James fans out there, but I just, a lot of time when I hear people speak out in the open, it's them talking about Jordan and how, back in that day, if LeBron would have faced Jordan, he would have got smashed. Look, so we're gonna start getting into the whole, who's better, why, what the comparisons are. Let's start from Jordan coming into the league. Now we seen Jordan come into the league, and first of all, Jordan's from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, so I do have a little love for Mike. You know what I'm saying? But first of all, the first time we seen greatness from Jordan was when he hit the shot for North Carolina. Anybody that knows about basketball, anybody knows about Michael Jordan, everybody knows that North Carolina jump shot was the first time everybody looked at Michael Jordan was like, yo. Because first of all, you guys got to remember, I'm going to be fair about this. This ain't going to be about like me because I made the case that LeBron, if you really do the math on it, could be better than Jordan. That don't mean I'm going to sweat LeBron the whole video. You know what I'm saying? Mike was that dude. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, the jump shot at North Carolina, the dagger to win it. First of all, there's 300. I'm gonna tell you right now. It's okay to research while you're live. You know what I'm saying? How many Division I college basketball teams are there? 361 to 366 NCAA Division I men's basketball teams. And they all face each other. I'm not saying every year. They go years where they don't see a team. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is that this man won a championship. That's why they call it the Big Dance, because it's a 64 team playoff. The NIT is the not invited tournament. A lot of people call it that. And it's still a tournament. I still show respect to whoever wins the NIT, but that is nothing like the Big Dance. The Big Dance, they take 64 teams, let's just say the best 64 teams. They have all these divisions, and they have the 64 team tournament, 32 teams versus 32 teams. Then, rinse and repeat, 16 versus 16, 8 versus 8. That's called the Sweet 16. That's when they start to name them. Then when there's 8 teams left, they call it the Elite Eight. And then when there's 4 teams left, I think almost all of us know about the Final Four, and then it's the championship. Well, Michael Jordan, while he was in college, he stood 2 years or 3 years in college. So in those 2 years and 3 years that he was in college, he actually wiggled his way through the big dance and won a championship. And it literally came down to that big moment shot, that slow motion B-roll, we're down one, who we're gonna get it to Mike, slow motion raises up, you know, and that's how Jordan began. Now, Jordan had a 37 point per game season where he didn't win the championship, So I took notes and everything. Listen, when I posted, right, I'm gonna read some of the comments that people left me, because even though like I haven't went hard on Facebook like to try to get like a lot of followers or whatever. I knew to put certain hashtags to get to for strangers to see my post, and they came out the woodworks. Let's hear some of the reasons why people think Jordan. First of all, it don't even be why Jordan is better than LeBron. They just attack LeBron, and it's real. The LeBron hate is real. So let me read you some of the stuff they said. I said, all you gotta do is be at my channel between 8 a.m. and 8:15, and you will see the live has started. Show me and anybody else that wants to debate about the topic and get it popping. Matter of fact, is this the one? Oh no, actually, this was the one. I said, get ready, all you basketball fans. The Jordan versus LeBron, who is the true GOAT debate will be going down tonight, but I pushed it back to this morning. So all you big mouth I was taunting a little bit. I wanted to get people to want to roll up. So I said, all you big mouth basketball fans and LeBron haters, get ready to roll up to the Pufferstein channel so we can end the debate once and for all. The debate will take place after the Lakers versus Rockets game. They won too. I knew they were going to win. First of all, LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, DeAndre Ayton, Rui Hachimura, all of them, they went up 2-0 on the Rockets. It's looking good because when you go up 2-0 in a playoff series, your chances of getting out of the series rise tremendously. So there's right now, after they went up 2-0, there's an 85% chance that they'll go on to the next series. So I said, get ready to roll up to the Pufferstein channel so we can end the debate once and for all. I said the debate will take place after the Lakers versus Rockets game 2 tonight at about 1 a.m. So I woke up late, from a nap. And at 3 a.m, I woke up and I seen that the Lakers had beat the Rockets. I was happy. So in my head, I was trying to tell people, second of all, after we're done with the debate, I got a commentary coming out about how the Lakers have a shot at winning the title this year. I really believe that. I know that Jokic and the Nuggets, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder, even Cade Cunningham, the Detroit Pistons, the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, the San Antonio Spurs. Those are all the teams that got the best shot. Those are the top 3 teams on each coast. It's the Boston Celtics, the Detroit Pistons, and I think the Knicks are in 3rd place for the first time in a long time. And then on the Western Conference, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder's 1st place, the The San Antonio Spurs are second place, and I think the Nuggets are in third place, and then the Lakers are in fourth. So the odds are stacked against them. But when I look at Luka Doncic, who won the scoring title 2 years in a row, he averaged 33.5 points per game with LeBron James and Austin Reeves on his team. Now, what led me to believe that they could go far is because they have like a big three. Austin Reeves is better than everybody thought. But I don't want to jump topics. I got the commentary coming out. When it comes out, I hope you guys check it out. So, but we like I said, we at the beginning where Mike Jordan wins the North Carolina championship. So he comes into the NBA highly anticipated, right? When he gets Scottie Pippen, people are really have high anticipations. He ends up getting one of the best players in the history of basketball. So oh, and also I was gonna read you the comments. All right, so look, I had wrote the post and it said first thing I wrote, well, not first thing, one of the top comments is, all right, I just want to make this clear. This is about basketball fans having fun with the topic. I'm a real person and a loving person, and at the end of it all, I have no ill will towards anybody, no matter who they like. I said this actually came about because LeBron is one of my favorite players, but I understand how great Jordan was. But after seeing so many people take shots at LeBron, I decided to point out how if you really wanted to make a case for him being the greatest ever, you could. Right? So by this time, certain people are starting to see it, right? So big shout out to what is it, Ison Chris Jover. He says there's no GOAT debate. There's never been. Here is the reality of the wannabe GOAT who proclaimed himself. Then he shows this weird picture about how many times LeBron lost and how he only won 3 times and how the bubble championship don't count. So I say to him, I said, I sing Chris Jova. I only see 3 W's. I said, where's the fourth W? I said, you know, he won 4 championships, right? I said, there's nothing you could do to change that. I said, I'm sure Anthony Davis would have something to say about your little 3W picture. I said, I hope to see you at the debate at 8 a.m., right? So then somebody named Leonardo Aaron writes, no debate, bums, has been on, bums, has-beens move on. Great young players now. All right, he's just saying that the NBA is fresh, there's new players, right? So I didn't really catch it. I wrote Jordan wouldn't have been able to even play LeBron after 35 years old. So LeBron would have beat him for 6 years at the very least after 35. What I'm saying is once Jordan hit 35, he started to lose it. I said LeBron's 41 and he still got it. So I said at 35 years old, LeBron would have been waxing Jordan. But that was also just to taunt people. I said they don't allow crutches on the court. So tell Jordan to stop smoking them cigars and drinking all that booze. Not to mention and not to mention he's the worst GM in NBA history. I've never seen a team do worse than Jordan's Bobcats or Hornets or whatever. I said, man, Adam Morrison turned out to be a superstar. I said maybe Michael Kid Gilchrist or Cody Zeller or Frank Kaminsky, but that was me just antagonizing. Let me check the comments real quick. Oh, it's all good, Bubbles, no problem. I'm just doing my thing. I'm waiting to see if I see any LeBron hater comments or any Michael Jordan comments, anything. But the LeBron haters are always talking until it comes time to shine. And then you don't see nothing. So, but anyway, back to the comments that they left me on Facebook. Some people are watching from Facebook also. So Scott Anderson writes 22 wins, 33 losses. I don't even know what he means. In top 10 all time, top 5 this era. Can't really make. I know he's taking a shot at LeBron. So I go Scott Anderson. How narrow-minded could you be? LeBron was in the championships 10 times. I said, and he won it 4 times. I said, you just talked about him like he was JJ Redick. No disrespect to JJ Redick. He's just not a number one option, and he wasn't even a second or third option on a championship team. He was a role player, even though he was picked like second or third, and I believe he was the nation's leading scorer. And if he wasn't, he was second behind Adam Morrison. Big shout out to Adam Morrison, too. He got hurt, and his defense was horrible. I researched why Adam Morrison left the league, and they said it was because of his defense. Oh, and he got hurt. Somebody shook him out of his shoes so bad that he turned his ankle and never recovered. And I forget who it was. It could have been it was somebody famous. I forget who it was that broke Adam Morrison's ankles to the point where he never returned. So, but I say, Scott Anderson, hope to see you there at 8 a.m. Be there or be square. So Patricia Wheatley writes, LaFlop will never be a GOAT, period. All right. So I said, Patricia Wheatley, he might already be the GOAT. I said, that's what the discussion's about. I said, hope to see you there at 8 a.m. I really ain't trying to go too hard, especially if it's a lady, and but we could still, you know what I mean? No, everybody, I like to treat people equal, to a certain degree. So this Mark Delgado, big shout out to Mark Delgado, because he's one of the guys that makes one of the best arguments. And I wouldn't even say the best, but he goes hard with the LeBron hate. He goes, and nobody cares about the Mickey Mouse. I think he meant to say the Mickey Mouse ring. He's talking about the bubble championship. I don't know how people have said. I'm going to break it down to you guys right now, too. First of all, there's no such thing as a fake championship. Let me tell you something. You know how it would have been fake? If all the other superstars didn't roll up. But tell me the superstar that didn't play in that bubble championship. Right? So anyway, Mark Delgado writes, nobody cares about the Mickey Mouse Championship. Nothing else to say. It's all right there. It's in the record books, right? So I go, Mark Delgado, everybody in the NBA was there at that bubble championship. If it was so easy to win, why did all the other superstars get knocked out? I said Nikola Jokic got knocked out. Jason Tatum, who competed, got knocked out. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was there, got knocked out. Giannis Antetokounmpo was there, got knocked out. Kawhi Leonard was there, got knocked out. Kevin Durant was there, got knocked out. If it was so easy, why didn't any of these guys grab that so-called fake championship? You're going to tell me none of them wanted it? Come on, son. So Stephen Curry was there. Why didn't he snag the ring for himself since it was so easy? Matter of fact, Stephen Curry was the one that had a 3-1 lead on LeBron and Kyrie Irving, not the so-called Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh super team. This is Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, a big two, if you want to call it that, against Draymond, Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, and a deep Warriors team, right? And yet LeBron does something nobody's ever done. This is one of the things that makes the case for him being as good as Jordan, if not better. This is just one of the things. I'm not bringing up the fact that LeBron is the all-time leading scorer who never won a scoring title. Now, people like try to act like that's a diss. That's flattery. This man was so talented. He's such a basketball savant that he never won a scoring title because he locked in on passing, rebounding, defense, blocking shots, chase down blocks are crazy. Speaking of the 3-1 comeback, that chase down block he had when he blocked Steph Curry, I think that was the other block, and the way he stared him down, yo, LeBron and Kyrie Irving, that was one of the best playoff series I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, Kyrie Irving hit a big shot. One shot. You guys talk about like Kyrie Irving won the 3-1 comeback by himself over one shot that he made with like 4 minutes left in the game, or 3 minutes or 2 minutes left in the game, whatever. So, but I said Steph Curry competed in your so-called bubble championship that don't count. He got knocked out. I said they all got smashed out. I said LeBron wiped the floor with most of the guys I just named. Anybody I just named that was on the Eastern Conference, LeBron smacked up, or the team that smacked them up, he smacked them up. So what could you say? Stop it with the bubble championship stuff already. That's bullshit. You guys know it. You know from what I just said. All those other superstars competed. Tell me about one name I mentioned that I got it wrong, that they didn't show up to compete. They got washed up. They got sent home. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna look at the comments in a second. I can't do both at the same time. So I said Mark Delgado, like I said, 8 a.m. Be there, be square. Okay, so Obadiah Stiff. I don't know if I read this one. He said, not much to discuss. One player won 6 NBA finals and the other lost 6 NBA finals. I mean, what he's saying isn't a lie, but at the same time, in order for Mike to get 6 championships, he had to win them all because he never went to another. He went to 6 finals and he won the 6 finals he went to. But he played 14 years. I'm going to tell you something. For all you people out there that act like Jordan never lost, how many years did Mike play in the NBA? 15 seasons. 15 seasons. 6 rings. What happened the other 9 seasons? You guys talk about losing. His first time LeBron went to the finals, his team, he didn't have anybody super significant on his team. Yet he took them all the way to the finals and a conference finals. The same type of stuff. Nobody on my team. I got you to the conference finals and the actual finals. And to be honest with you, there was something up with that Magic series. They actually Rashard Lewis, when the Magic beat LeBron in that conference finals, Rashard Lewis got suspended for performance enhancement drugs. If I remember correctly, I'm gonna look it up. That's not something you play with. When LeBron lost to the Magic in the conference finals, did Rashard Lewis get suspended for performance enhancement drugs? Okay, see, I told you I don't talk what I don't know. Yes, shortly after the Orlando Magic defeated LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 2009 Eastern Conference Finals, Rashard Lewis tested, and I remember him. He couldn't miss. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. I remember watching the Magic beat the Cavaliers in those conference finals, and I remember watching Rashard Lewis, and I'm like, man, he don't miss. He is not missing, And later on, when I heard that This is what happened. Rashard Lewis tested positive for an elevated testosterone level, a banned substance, specifically a steroid precursor called DHEA. All right, you didn't think you was gonna hear that today, right? Well, you did. All right, so um, all right. So while everybody talks about how Jordan was undefeated in the finals, I'm not gonna act like LeBron, I'm not gonna act like Jordan isn't that dude. Yeah, Jordan is crazy. Six finals MVP. You know, and let me tell you something. There's not only one. Listen, man, you guys act like there's only one or two or three people worth talking about in the history of the NBA. How could you not talk about Bill Russell? How could you not talk about Bill Russell? How could you not talk about a man who won 10 rings, 11 rings? This man won more rings than you have fingers. He had to buy himself another hand to put the 11th ring on. So, but look, I took down some facts, right? LeBron versus Jordan, right? LeBron made it to 10 NBA finals. Even I think it was 11, no, 10. He made it to 12 conference finals, right? So, but let's talk about the why does Jordan have 6 championships even though he was in the league for 15 years? You guys failed to mention that LeBron only was able to lose in those extra finals is because he made it further than Michael more times. Yeah, he lost in the finals because he made it there. Jordan lost before that, you know? And like I said, he recruited Dennis Rodman after Isaiah Thomas. Allegedly, the story goes Isaiah Thomas and Jordan didn't like each other. But Jordan used to shake Isaiah's hand after every time he lost. Finally, Jordan gets by Isaiah, and Isaiah, I admit it, he acted like a crab that time. He should have shook his hand. I don't care if he thought Jordan was not the coolest guy, not his type of person that he would mess with. None of that. The man shook your hand every time you lost. I mean, he lost to you. You lose to him and you don't shake his hand. Not only that, you put the battery in your whole team's back not to shake their hands neither. So, but anyway, Rodman didn't shake his hand. They all left to the locker room. Bill Laimbeer, all of them. And then after Horace Grant left, which he was a great third man. I wouldn't really call the first Bulls team a big three. I would definitely call the second Bulls team a big three. And they went out and got Rodman. So that whole the super team shit is nonsense, just like the bubble stuff. You know what I mean? Get out of here with that. Bubble's a fake championship, and get out of here with that super team shit. Kevin Garnett got with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce. Then they got a bonus because they just happened to draft Rajon Rondo, which made it really a big four. And yet they could only pull off one ring. One ring. At least LeBron went to the Heat, won 2 championships. And I ain't gonna front. I don't usually say stuff like this, but I feel like the LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh Heat that lost to the Dirk Nowitzki Dallas Mavericks, I feel a little bit like they beat themselves. I feel a little bit like well, look, at the end of it all, the better team won. So Dirk won, and Dirk was the better player. I'm not trying to take nothing from Dirk, but from what they gave us, I felt like they were better than that. But they didn't show up for whatever reason. Nerves. When a person chokes, you can't blame that on the guy who beat them. Because Dirk had a not the greatest game either. Pretty bad game actually, if I remember. But he did better than them. But my thing is that while they said the Celtics built a super team, they made it to I think they made it to 2, 3 finals, but they only won one. LeBron and Dwayne Wade took the Heat to uh 2 championships and championship finals that they lost. And Chris Bosh, people act like LeBron left Dwayne Wade just because of his knees going bad. It wasn't just that. The team fell apart. Chris Bosh started getting blood clots that are the kind of blood clots that they're non-treatable, or they're the kind of blood clots that are hard to get rid of. I actually think they stick around. I read about it one day, but I don't remember what I read 3 years ago one time, whenever I read it. But he had some serious blood clots, and his career was over. And Dwayne Wade's legs were getting bad. There wasn't nothing wrong with LeBron returning to Cleveland. And not only that, you're talking about a man that comes from Cleveland. Dan Gilbert couldn't get him any help. This man still goes back there and wins one for his hometown. It's like if I play for Bushwick or Ridgewood, or Bedford Stuyvesant, right? And after 8 years, the big head honcho that runs the team, he's got more power than me. He can't get him no help. I don't know why. There's a chance he was being cheap, or there wasn't nobody on the market. I don't want to do some speculation. Speculation is not good. So, but for whatever reason, Dan Gilbert don't get him no help. LeBron leaves. He wins 2 for Miami, almost wins 3. Dwayne Wade's legs start to go bad. Chris Bosh starts to get blood clots. And LeBron doesn't just leave to any team. He goes back to his hometown and gets them the only ring they ever had in their history, and the fashion that he won it in. Not only did he go back to Cleveland and win one for the land, I had to bust out the Cleveland Cavaliers jump off today. Not only did he go back home and win one for the land, he did it against Stephen Curry in a 3-1 comeback that's never been done in NBA history. You starting to think he's a little bit closer to Jordan yet? Let me check the comments real quick. All right. So we're gonna talk about some of the reasons. Listen, man, Jordan was amazing. The dunk from the free throw line, everything. I've seen Jordan throw the Allen Iverson crossover in the 90s, in the early 90s. It might have been the late 80s. Everything about Jordan. When Jordan did that move on my Knicks, where the baseline dunk, oh man, I could do that move good. Where you fake like you're going away from the baseline and then you just spin right back to the baseline. It shakes people up. You see how bad he caught Patrick Ewing and John Starks, I believe it was. And then the dunk was amazing. But first of all, you got to remember too, he took dunking to another level. We had never seen such beautiful dunking. Dr. J was the closest thing to it, but Mike, and then the 6 MVPs, the 6 finals MVPs, he won a lot of scoring titles, man. I forgot somebody said it. He won like 10 scoring titles. He won a ton of MVPs. There's no doubt about it. See, but let's go to LeBron, because LeBron is the one that we got to make the case for. It seems like everybody already knows for sure that Mike makes the case. So, but let's talk about LeBron a little more. All right. So 8 straight finals. That's another thing. He housed the Eastern Conference. Ask Gilbert Arenas how good LeBron James is. When I first, every year LeBron used to make it to the finals. It was like I knew, that he was gonna. That I used to put on the playoffs after he did it like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, they're not gonna stop him. And sure enough, he would find a way to make it all the way through. And he ran into Gilbert Arenas a few times, if I got it correct. Man, Gilbert Arenas knows what that's about. You know what I'm saying? Along with a whole, listen, 8 straight finals, 10 in total. You got to go through 4 rounds of basketball, I believe, to get to the finals. It's the first round, semifinals, conference finals, and then the finals. I think you got to go through 3 rounds of basketball. Let me check. How many rounds of playoff basketball are there, including the finals? Yeah, see, it's 4 with the finals. All right, so there's 3. He did it 10 times, right? 4 of the times was successful in getting the ring. 10 times 3 is 30 rounds. That's 30 teams that he faced in 7-game playoffs, on best out of 7. And he won it 30 times plus the 4 times that he won the ring. That's 34 rounds he won. That's not to mention there was another run. In total, he's won about 40 rounds of playoff basketball. How do you even explain that? Let me ask one more question. How many rounds of playoff basketball has LeBron won in his NBA career? He's won 41 playoff series. All right, let me see something. How many rounds of playoff basketball has Michael Jordan won? 30. LeBron has won. And a 7-game series is hard to beat another team when it's because when you go to the playoffs, it steps up a notch. The pressure, the intensity, it becomes a different kind of game. That's why they call people like Rondo playoff Rondo. This man won 11 more rounds of playoff basketball than Jordan. That is significant. That is insane. You know, that's crazy. 41 rounds of basketball. LeBron has won. I don't know if they count it. Well, no, they can't count. They can't count the one he's playing. If he wins this one, it'll be 12 more than Jordan. And if he goes on to beat the Rockets, remember they're up 2-0, which gives them like a 90% chance of winning. That's going to be his 42nd playoff round victory. Not to mention he could win another round and another round and another round. He has the capability of winning 3 more rounds after this one. If he does, he'll have won 45 rounds of basketball and won his 5th ring. Let's not even talk about Luka. That's why I'm gonna do the other commentary. You know what I'm saying? All right. 10 finals, more deep runs, more pressure, more elimination games. The 2007 finals, he was 22 years old, and he had no all-stars on his team in that season. In 2015, this is what I was talking about. I'm going to talk about the times that he could have won another ring. And there's multiple reasons why he doesn't have 5, 6, or 7 rings. Now let's take a quick look. 2007, he ain't have any help, and he was 22 years old. All right, so he didn't win that one, and I do kind of blame that not on him. People can say I'm making excuses for him. If you want, to me, that's bullshit. I'm not making no excuses. I'm saying the truth. I'm saying that after 7 years of this young man coming out of high school with 3 high school championships, and then calling him the next one up. Dan Gilbert somehow fails to get him any help. He makes the finals at the age of 22 with no all-stars on his team and loses in the finals at 22 years old, people. You know, in 2015, Kyrie Irving, I was gonna say Kyrie Love. In 2015, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love both get hurt. And let me tell you something. I personally think that ring was in the bag and they got hurt, you know. So Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love get hurt 2015, not his fault, no ring. And then 2018 finals, yeah, that's when Kyrie Irving literally, and this is not disrespect, this is a fact. Kyrie Irving can't handle that LeBron is a bigger impact on the NBA, a better player. And you also got to remember too, he's bigger than Kyrie. If Kyrie was 6'8" and kept the same game, there's a chance he's just as good as the people we're talking about right now. But I truly believe out of jealousy he leaves, and in turn, because Kevin Love stood healthy to the end that time, LeBron 2018 makes it to the finals. No Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving was over in Boston losing, because that's what people do when they're not with LeBron. Anthony Davis not with LeBron, losing. Kyrie Irving not with LeBron, losing. LeBron leaves a 60. Did they go 62-20? I believe they won 62-20. Even if they won 58 games, whatever, they go 58-24, let's say, the Cavaliers, when he had no help back in 2007. When he leaves, they become a 15-67 team, like worst team ever, worst record ever. You understand? The power, the transference of power is obvious, so we'll just keep it at that. Let's say in 2007 he has some help. Let's say in 2015 Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love don't get injured. And let's say in 2018 Kyrie Irving doesn't leave because he's sour, and somebody comes in his place and picks up the slack. Maybe LeBron has 7 rings. You noticed I didn't bring up the time they lost to Dirk Nowitzki, because Dirk Nowitzki won. I can't say that he would have a ring if he wouldn't have choked. They all choked. Dwayne Wade, they all did horrible. But that's big ups to Jason Terry, Dirk Nowitzki, and everybody else that was on that team. They won fair and square. If Michael Jordan would have went to the pros out of high school, he would have beat LeBron James numbers. You know what, Bubbles? I'm gonna highlight that. If Michael Jordan wouldn't have went, if Michael Jordan would have went to the pros straight out of high school, he would have beat LeBron James numbers. Now that's smart. You got a point. But if you think about it, Jordan still left early. Let's find out when Jordan left. How long did Jordan stay at North Carolina? 3 seasons. You're right, though. So he had 3 less seasons in the NBA. And that's 3 seasons. But the thing, listen, you got to remember, Bubbles, with Michael Jordan, his body broke down early. So while he would have had 3 more years if he would have left high school, you got to also remember, just because he's Michael Jordan, that doesn't necessarily mean at 17 he could have thrived in the NBA. There's a good chance he could have, though. It's Mike. But there's also a chance he would have struggled if they would have pulled him out too early. You learn in college. But his body started to break down way earlier than LeBron. LeBron's 41 and his body's in tip top shape. Jordan's body started to break down probably around 38 years old, 37 years old. Let me check that for sure also. When did Jordan win his last championship? Matter of fact, how old was Jordan when he won his last championship? 35. All right. So after he won his sixth championship, he was 35 years old. His body started to break down pretty much directly after that. So while you got a guy who's playing at 41 years old, like he's 19, you got a guy who was 35 years old and he started to lose, his power, and you could say that that's a little exaggerated, but something similar to what I said. So probably you're right though. It would have given him 3 more years. They would have been closer. There's a slim chance he would have, been close or maybe topped him in certain things. So, but look, let's go back to the other things. The transfer of power. The fact that when he left the team or went to a team, the record just absolutely changed. It says it all. And let me tell you something, it doesn't matter if he goes by himself or if he goes with help. If LeBron ended up on a team, whatever team he left, their record went to shit. And whatever team he went to, their record became great. All right, different ways to win. Yeah, man, listen, him beating a 73 win team after going down 3-1 says a lot. And he did it with Kyrie Irving, which is a solidified Hall of Famer and a superstar. But he's a little guy. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man, Kyrie Irving is special. I don't look at people like they could dribble as good as Allen Iverson. I look at Kyrie Irving like he can dribble like Allen Iverson. Kyrie Irving is just amazing, amazing, amazing. He's got that ball. They say he has the ball on a string, you know. So play style. Oh, that's another thing. Jordan and Kobe played similar. Of course, everybody knows that. But LeBron had more of a Magic Johnson type game. So he wasn't a scorer no matter what kind of guy. He had a special kind of passing that Jordan didn't have. But at the same time, Jordan had more of a killer instinct on the scoring tip. But if you're talking about being a floor general, LeBron was better. But if you're talking about a vicious scorer, Michael Jordan edged him out on that. Okay, now look, y'all guys don't want to talk about the Iron Man thing. We got to talk about LeBron's longevity, man. Were you gonna say that him playing at 41 right now, LeBron has a legitimate chance at winning a title at 41 years old as a second option? You guys can't say that doesn't matter with the LeBron Jordan argument. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, man. This is another one too. What place is LeBron in the assist leaders all time? He's in fourth place in assists, on top of being the all-time point leader. Come on, guys. He's close to listen. Let's put it like this. If you don't want to admit that him and Jordan are very close, you gotta at least say he's closer than you thought. You know, some people would say that LeBron is better. And it's crazy because a person who loves Mike would hate to hear that, but you got to remember too, there's a person we're not even talking about. Where does Kobe Bryant stand in all this? What do you think? Kobe's not worthy of mentioning? You get what I'm saying? Look at who Kobe won it with. Kobe won it with Lamar Odom. No disrespect to Lamar Odom and Ron Artest, and then he won another one with Lamar Odom and Pau Gasol. You know, Kobe's special. You know, but we're not talking about Kobe right now. All around impact, scoring, rebounding, and playmaking. Yeah, that's another thing too. He was a better rebounder than. Listen, he couldn't score like Jordan, but he could rebound and pass better than Jordan. That's a fact. Coming out of high school too, I put coming out of high school was a different kind of pressure. Being 17 and tackling what he tackled, a lot of high school athletes would have cracked under the pressure. Kobe was another one that came out of high school and won 5 rings. Yeah, man, and going to the finals with Mo Williams and Zydrunas Ilgauskas, you know, that's insane. There is no super team. All that super team stuff is nonsense. At the end of it all, to me, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a super team. I'm not saying that it wasn't homegrown, but it's a super team. Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish. Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman, and Isaiah Thomas. And I'm telling you, it even dates back further. Yeah, you could say the homegrown thing was way more prevalent, but things change. Just like what you want them to do, not shoot 3-pointers. You want a certain team to not shoot 3-pointers because they want to be nostalgic. You know how stupid that is? It's foolish, Eventually, you got to get with the times, you know, especially if it's involving money, the almighty dollar. Because remember, what a lot of people neglect to realize is that all of this stuff revolves around the almighty dollar. So if it's better for finances, they're gonna go with it, you know. And we're gonna end it with talking about the shape that LeBron was in. You know, let's give LeBron his props. I wish a lot more LeBron haters would have rolled up, but it's 8 in the morning, and I didn't promote it like I should have, and people will see the rewind. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good. This is up there. I'll make sure it gets blasted or whatever. But we're gonna end it on this note. You got a man in Jordan, that vicious killer, definitely. It's like when you do a court case, who has the burden of proving their case? Well, I'll give it to you guys. We have to prove that LeBron is as good as Jordan. Jordan doesn't have to prove he's as good as LeBron. But I hope that I made a case that you guys could say, man, LeBron is better than we thought. And he's closer to Jordan or equal to Jordan or better than Jordan. Or, like I said, if it's closer to Jordan, I hope I could have made some of you realize that LeBron is not worthy of all the hate he gets. And you know how much grilled chicken you got to eat and salad you got to eat to stay the way my man LeBron looks at 41 years old. You know what I'm saying, man? Big ups to him just for eating that much salad. Yo, man, listen, man. Look, it's your boy Spank Dog, man. I'm gonna leave it at that. If it would have been a bigger turnout, I would have kept it going. We already here for an hour. You already know what it is, man. It wasn't here. I wasn't here never on some hate shit. I don't hate on people. That's not my style. I got love for Mike. And I've seen Mike do stuff that made me look at him like, wow, like that was kind of, you ain't look so good right there. Like I said, I don't want to bash him and nothing like that. That's not what this is about. But I still never took that as an excuse to hate on him. This is a man that when I was like 10 years old, 15 years old, we would get our hands on the Come Fly With Me or the Air Up There on VHS, and we'd be in heaven. You know, we'd be in heaven. You know, all we would do is be like, oh my God, can you see how this guy jumps? Or even like I said, in one of those videos, he does the Allen Iverson crossover to somebody, you know. LeBron, you know, Michael Jordan, you know, God bless him, bro. He's special, you know. He was the face of the NBA. But don't act like Kobe didn't come in and become the face of the NBA, and then LeBron didn't come in and become the face of the NBA. And now we're trying to figure out right now it's looking like Jokic. As much as I love Luka Doncic, until he gets that ring, you know, it's gonna be somebody with a ring, you know. That's pretty much it, man. Listen, yo, Bubbles, much love to you, man. Man, you're the best, man. Let me highlight your comment right there just to shout you out. You know, this lady is a beautiful person, man. Much love to you. You know what I'm saying? I can't say it enough. Michael Jordan. Yeah, and she made a really good point right there too. You know, Mike spent 3 years in college. You know, so he came into the league at 21 years old, while LeBron was in the league at 18 years old. I'm gonna leave it on that note. Yo, Bubbles, much love, man. Thank you for your support. To anybody that sees this, drop a comment. It's your boy Spankthor. Much love, real love. I'm out of here. One.